Alright, what's up guys? So today we're looking at the patch notes for 13.12. Looks like a lot of systems are getting changed, a lot of nerfs to some of the champions that have been meta. Specifically, big nerfs to Zeri. Um, I also think a pretty big nerf to Milio, but let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on. So Ashe is getting her passive is getting a little bit of a buff. As well as her W damage is getting increased, and her R AP ratio is getting increased. Ashe hasn't been really getting played in ADC, so I mean, it makes sense to give her something. She's mostly been getting played in support. I do think that the W volley buff can be a buff to both support and AD Ashe, so could end up making Ashe support come back, especially because this AP ratio on her R would definitely make it so support Ashe's back in. So who knows what we see here? More than likely, the reason Ashe isn't getting played is just because the meta doesn't favor her. So this game and more being streamed over on my Twitch. Submit your games in my Discord for review. Gangplank is getting his E barrels rate decreased as a buff to Gangplank's barrels. They back when they changed Gangplank like 3-4 patches ago to nerf him because he was basically in every game. They changed his rate of his E to be a flat amount because everybody was building Navori quick blades and was making them get like so many barrels off. I don't know if GPs are building Navori quick blade anymore since now it's a mythic instead of a legendary, but if they are, this is a pretty big buff to GP just in general. His barrels are max second after his Q, and just getting more and more barrels like is going to get it back to the point where GP's like one-shotting ADCs off screen just because they have so many barrels to spam. Speaking of barrels, it looks like Gragas is getting a nerf, but also a buff. They think he's sustaining too much for pro play, and they want to hit. They want to hit his sustain in lane. Nice. But they're giving his Q a buff to his mana, which is kind of like counterintuitive here. Because the reason that the passive was so oppressive with Gragas is like he was CSing with W, basically, like so he would always be getting his health back off of trades and stuff like that. Making his Q lower cost like that, especially since it's the first maxed ability for every Gragas, lane Gragas, jungle Gragas, all of them, it's just going to mean that he can CS with his Q, so he doesn't need to take as much damage. Like 20 mana off of every Gragas Q. Like, Gragas will throw, like, 10 to 15 Qs every, like, I'd say 3 minutes in lane. So, like, that's a lot of mana that you're saving. So, I don't think this is going to do what they think it's going to do. I think we'll see Gragas just as much in pro play, just because of this. They had to give him this Q buff as well. K'Sante is getting a tiny nerf, nerf to his ECD. It looks like it's 1.5 seconds at every rank. Specifically for pro play. That champion is busted, but I don't know if it's his E that's really what makes him so strong. It's really just he just does too much damage as a tank. You know, he shatters all his resistances and then he solos half your team. Kai'Sa getting 0.6 AD attack damage growth. She's actually the lowest win rate ADC. So they're just giving her something. That's not going to make her played. This might make it so that her evolutions looks like her evolutions are better, which will definitely feel better. I'm not too sure that Kai'Sa's only really good when you have like engaged supports, so I don't think you're going to see Kai'Sa still, just because the melee engaged supports are still not getting played. Kha'Zix is getting nerfed. Kha'Zix is the strongest jungler basically on this patch. The champion is so busted. All because I think 5 patches ago they decreased the range of isolation, which has been letting him like just fucking pop anybody in any team fight. None of it matters. There was another buff to his isolation bonus damage too, just like crazy. That 3 AD isn't going to do shit. Kha'Zix is still going to be just as oppressive as he was before. This might as well not have touched him at all. This is a nothing nerf. Kog'Maw is getting a 0.5% maximum health nerf to his W. That seems fine. He's been working around with Cog Lulu, doing a lot of work, so they're hitting him a little bit. It's not too overbearing either. He's still playable. Lucian's passive is getting nerfed for the damage wise, but it is being made so that Lucian can be played with engaged supports. So instead of it just being when Lucian is like shielded or healed, he will get the bonus damage. Now, if the enemy champions are immobilized, he also will get the bonus from Light Slinger. So, just making him more playable with engaged supports. I think a particular combo here that might be really good with Lucian then is like Rakan, because now Rakan has an extra way to 2 extra ways to proc it. So Rakan Lucian might be starting to become a duo. Lulu, Lulu's been needing nerfs for a long fucking time. This champion is so oppressive, so overtuned, and has been forever. They're nerfing her armor by 3, lowering the damage on her passive, which doesn't fucking matter. That damage is like they're taking it down by 6. That's a nothing change. Means absolutely nothing. But the E is getting buffed. Wait, what? What the fuck are they doing? They're buffing Lulu's shielding. Like that was what she needed. This isn't like they basically just, this isn't a nerf, this is a buff. Altogether, this is a buff. Lulu maxes E first. You're already seeing that value at 2 points in it. You're getting 5 every level after the first, getting 20 extra base shield at 5 points. It's just a buff. This passive damage is irrelevant. This 3 armor is irrelevant. So Lulu's been buffed. She's stronger than she was before. Milio. 2 armor nerf, a bunch of armor growth nerf, and then they have gutted his empowered passive. So Milio is the only like enchantress support that can't do any damage at all himself. Literally cannot do damage, even if you tried. So the fact that they didn't just go meet this in the middle here and take it from 15 to 25% instead of 15 to 35 and just cut it down to 15%. This champion is, I would say, like a third or two, like a third as strong as he was before. The people he's empowering are doing no fucking damage now. Just as much damage as they do at level 1. That's really stupid. I think that's an over nerf, and he's going to be needing buffs because they're hitting his items every step of the way as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he's basically like 47% win rate off of this change. It's kind of ridiculous. Especially with Lulu now, his main competition and Lulu getting buffed. Like, why would you ever play Milio? Just play Lulu. Nasus is getting lifesteal added to his passive. And his R cooldown is getting decreased with rank. Sure, that might help Nasus. I don't think it's going to do that much, but it'll help him a little bit. Orianna buffs. That's what I like to see. Orianna hasn't been touched forever. Such a fun mid laner to play. Really fun to watch in pro play. So, I'd like to see that. It looks like it's getting 50 base damage added to it, as well as 5% AP. Starting at rank 2 and then going to 100 bonus damage at rank 3. That's awesome. Everybody likes to see like Ori ults like that are wombo combos. I don't think people think that ability is busted. I think it's healthy for the game. It's very fun compared to a lot of the champions that have been releasing lately. I think Orianna is just a really fun staple of League of Legends. So that's nice. Rel's getting, looks like, some nerfs, but also some changes to make her feel less clunky. They've changed her adaptive 4 stat to be ability power. I think that's because all of her moves scale with AP instead of AD, so that gives her a little bit more damage with all adaptive force. They're reducing the cast time on her Q by 0.1 second, making it feel a little bit less clunky. Still weird that the cast time of the ability is basically as long as you stun them for. It's not really that great. They've reduced it by 10 damage at every rank, it looks like, just base. And then they're reverting all these stupid jungle changes that they added to the champion just to kind of like force her to be possibly to be jungled. It didn't really make any sense, like just 300% of base damage. It was kind of uninspired, but now they've done some math and it looks like they're just adding flat amounts to her just because they felt like the late game damage she was doing was too much. I haven't seen Rel Jungle do well. I'm pretty sure it was not good. It absolutely got shit on by Trundle from what I understood because the champion, you would steal resistances, Trundle would ult you, and you'd literally be like negative resistances. So I don't think it was really strong, but apparently it had too good of a smite secure with like EQ smite or something. It was too much damage, so they're nerfing that. Crash down damage is also getting hit by 10. I don't know why they're doing that. The percentage, let's see here, magic damage on the E is actually taking a big hit. It looks like 30 damage down at max, or when you max it, which is your second max ability. You go W into E, and it is only 3% of targets maximum health instead of 4%. Seems fine to me as long as they don't touch the movement speed on it. I mean, that ability is really clunky and kind of stupid. Don't really like it personally, but I did think it was like way too much damage that they were putting on it. It was kind of making Rel like a damage support. So she was like 52% win rate after the double hotfix they did to her where they buffed her numbers twice. She kind of needs some nerfs. I think the jungle changes are stupid though. Rumble. I took a look at these Rumble changes. I think they're pretty fucking awesome. Rumble is a really fun champion to play with in the game and play as. And they're kind of fixing a lot of the problems that he's had since they shifted Liandry's to a mana item. So that, because Rumble doesn't benefit from, he can't build Liandry's and benefit from it. He only gets Demonic Embrace. So now they actually shifted all of that. And see here, we got a little bit of lower health base, but he gets health growth, lower health regen. They added 50 heat to his passive, which is really nice because it gives you a lot more range where you're playing in the overheat zone and getting bonus damage on all of your abilities without going going over into the actual like full damage overheat. So that's really nice for Rumble in general. That's going to make it so that all his Q is always doing a little bit extra damage, stuff like that. They've also, speaking of his Q, added specifically here, it looks like they've added maximum target health damage to his Q, which is so good. That's basically what he was missing by not being able to build Liandry's anymore. They're just putting that in his Q. It's making it so he can actually kill tanks, because that's always been his problem, is he can't fucking kill tanks without the Liandry's. And I think that's really amazing for him. That's going to make him feel really, really good. They're adding a bunch of jungle changes there just to try and hope that he doesn't get picked up, he doesn't become overpowered in jungle off of that. I think like this is really, though, all these buffs are targeted specifically towards the lane. I think that's really good. So his W base shield is getting lowered so that instead it scales off of his maximum health to kind of make Rumble a little bruiser-like. He wants Demonic Embrace. He wants to build your AP bruiser items, maybe Proto Belt. He wants to build a lot of items like that. What's it called? Shadow something. The one that builds out of the Hextech Alternator. But yeah, I think that's really good. That's really good for Rumble. They did, in compensation, they did nerf his R at rank 1, it looks like, by 30 seconds. It looks like it's 10 seconds per rank. Basically 30 seconds at rank 1, 20 at 2, and 10 at 3. I think that's totally fine, just because they don't want him to be too overpowered now that they've added all that extra damage in his Q. But I think that's totally fine. I mean, I think the champion is really, really fun, and I'm glad to see him be playable again. Rise. Rise is getting his passive mana that increase per 100 AP. Let's see here. It's from 6% to 10%. That's a lot. That's going to add a lot of CDR to Seraphs, personally, for like every 100 AP right there. That's going to probably give him, if I had to guess off the top of my head, like 10 or 15 more CDR on, specifically on Seraphs, which might open it up so that way he has more options. He might not be going some of the items he was going before that had more CDR 3 and 4. I think that's nice. It gives him basically a lot. You can overcap on CDR really fast yourself without needing to do anything. And his E is getting a little bit of an AP buff. It looks like 45%, or it's to 50%, so it's getting 5% bonus. And the missile speed is getting increased. I think that's really nice too, because a lot of times you'll throw E and people can walk out of the range before it bounces to them. That's nice. That's good for Rise. I think Rise is also another champion that when he's good, the game is actually in a healthy state. So trying to make it so that Rise is being played in pro so that people start playing him again, I think that's really nice. Nice to see. Sivir is getting her attack damage growth nerfed, as well as but in exchange her W bounce is getting increased. 5% per rank percentage AD. It looks like. Okay, like that's okay. I mean, she didn't really have a problem wave clearing, no. So that's kind of like a wave clear buff, and she didn't really have that before. She didn't really have a problem with it. Kind of a nothing change. I don't think that makes her playable. Yuumi. Yumi's getting a bunch of nerfs, but unfortunately, I already took a look at these nerfs, and they really don't target what makes Yuumi a problem. So they're hitting Yumi's healing and shielding power and changing it from based on ally level to based on W rank, which everybody maxes last. So it's pretty much like a nothing ability now. So what you're really seeing is you're seeing like a, I would say, 10% nerf to her healing and shielding power, but that's not really what's the problem with Yuumi. They're hitting her shield on her E and the attack speed that it gives, as well as taking 10 HP off of the heal on her R for every target hit. That's fine and all, but the champion is still untargetable, sits on a champion, and basically can make them unkillable. None of this really stops them from being unkillable. It's just tiny nerfs because they're seeing her be pick banned in pro play, and they don't want her to be pick banned in pro play. Well, guess what this change is going to do? Absolutely nothing. She's still pick banned in pro play. The real change is that they're nerfing her partner, which is Yumi's best partner has always been Zeri, and that's who we're moving on to next. They're nerfing Zeri in a big way. So they're specifically making it so Zeri, her passive no longer steals shields and gains movement speed. So she no longer has that movement speed when she steals shields. That's going to make it really shit for her because she can't fucking catch people now and keep actually hitting them. They're also making it so her Q can no longer apply Sheen, which means that the Triforce build, which is currently being seen in, being played, dead. Dead in the water, you can't do it anymore. It's useless now. That's a big nerf to her. In exchange, they're making it so her E scales 20% more with critical strike. I don't think it matters. She's too squishy now without that build, so she's gonna get fucking popped. She doesn't have the movement speed she had before, so she's not gonna be able to actually apply her damage. Basically, this champion is like I would be very shocked if this champion sees play anymore. This is probably a dead in the water gut to her until she ends up getting a rework or some systems change in like a couple months, because they can't let her be bad for too long. But I think that this is going to take Zeri down to like a 44-43% win rate. She'll be the lowest win rate ADC by far. But I think it's deserved. I think the champion's really unhealthy for the game in the way that it was. So I still think it's good, but it still sucks to have a champion that people liked playing be completely unplayable, and that's what's happened here. Like I talked about last patch, the Ardent Sensor looks like they're nerfing it because last patch, they actually buffed it when they made it. They took it from 15 to 30 scaling on level to 20 base, which was a buff to it at level 1, or basically as first item, which is already where it was overperforming. It was at first item. They're finally actually nerfing it by making it only 15 on hit damage. Wait a minute, hold on, I misheard, or I misremembered. They're specifically targeting the on hit damage on it now, instead of making it scale on level to just be 15. The item's still really fucking good, but they actually nerfed it this time by making it so that the on hit damage doesn't scale on level. It caps out at 15. Do I think that it's still not the best item to build first on or second after your mythic on enchanters? Nope, it still is. Still build it. Adding 200 gold to Bloodthirster with no stats in compensation. They just think Bloodthirster is too strong. And I'm pretty sure it's too strong on like Yone and Yasuo. I don't know why they're mentioning ADCs. I don't think it's really overperforming on ADCs. But they're still nerfing it, or they're just adding 200 gold to the cost anyways. Gale Force is getting its active nerfed, let's see here, by a lot. 5 lower attack damage on the item as a base, as well as they are removing its critical strike chance scaling to make it bonus AD. That's a little weird as an ADC item. That's like nerfing it pretty hard, but they're talking about here and they're kind of afraid that it might be turned into an assassin item. I would not be shocked if that becomes possible. You might see Talons or Zeds or something running this, just because their lethality items keep getting touched. And this is kind of OP. I think it'll be more on Talon though than Zed. Zed is doing not too bad. Mortal Shield Bow is getting 3% lifesteal added back to it. They hit lifesteal super hard to all items. There was like no lifesteal in anything. It makes sense. There's kind of no reason to even build this item, so they're giving it something. Imperial Mandate is getting nerfed. It looks like, making it start scaling from level 8 instead of level 1, because before basically it takes a lot longer for it to get up as high in damage, and also they cut the top end of the damage off by 30 and 15. Imperial Mandate's pretty good. A lot of champions are building it like third, so I think it's pretty strong on a lot of champions. Makes sense to me. They're giving it the movement speed passive instead, in compensation for all the damage, so that way it's still a useful item. I still think it's pretty good. It's not that much of a hit to it. Moonstone, the only fucking enchanter mythic that nobody builds except for Soraka, and that's specifically what they say here, is getting a pretty big buff from scaling on allies to just 35% at level 1 instead of 20%. And also making the shielding scale no longer scaling, it's just 40% as well. That's pretty good, but it still doesn't apply on AoE shields very effectively. So nobody really cares. Same target, basically getting rid of all the scaling based on allies' levels to just make it flat amounts. I think it's kind of funny because this is just going to make Soraka really strong, because she's still going to be the only champion that builds this. Changing the ability haste to healing shield power is a nerf to compensate for how strong they're making it. I don't think it matters. It's still going to be way too strong on Soraka. Not on even... Maybe Seraphine would work with it if they finally fixed the AoE shields, but I still don't think... There's a reason this isn't being picked, and it's not... It's just because the shield bouncing is, like, really wonky. It doesn't fucking work correctly. But, hey, Soraka's, like, really strong now. So everybody, any Soraka mains, you're going to be probably the strongest enchantress on this patch. Phantom Dancer's getting 5% more attack speed. All the AD items lost so much attack speed that they gotta fucking add it back somewhere. It's going into Phantom Dancer. Nerfing Rapid Fire's energized damage based on level to just 60. I think... So, a lot of ADs are building Rapid Fire Cannon, but who this actually targets, that it really doesn't deserve this nerf is Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate was kind of relying on this extra damage that was based on level here because he builds this item and it has so many AD items in it now that it kind of makes him shit. So losing that damage this is a nerf really to Twisted Fate. Pretty big one. But they keep another patch in a row. They continue to buff Static Shiv. I don't think that Static Shiv is a bad item. It just doesn't perform as well on the current meta of ADCs. So it's really weird to me that they keep buffing this and buffing this and buffing this and making it, trying like forcing it into play. It's not a bad item. It's already like good on the champions it's good on. It's just those champions aren't being played. It's like it's gonna be scary if they overbuff this and then the meta shifts and then this item is just like fucking destroying towers, waves. It's like if Sivir was actually good, this item would be overtuned and it wouldn't be needing nerfs. They're changing Overheal to make it better for fighters instead of ADCs because they don't like ADCs having a shield. They like them getting one shot by assassins in an assassin meta, which is kind of weird. I think it's weird to be taking this precision tree rune and making it only for fighters. It's like really not good on ADCs now because they don't have very much maximum health. At most, you're going to be getting like fucking 100 shield. That's kind of sucks. They removed a change that they made a long time ago to mid lane gold, where mid lane minions were worth 1 less gold than every other minion in the side lanes. They just got rid of it because mages are not doing good anymore. It was a nerf to make it so that mages weren't good over roamers. This is a big one because everybody with the jungle changes are the buff sharing. Red buff is actually too strong. It has too much regen on it. And so now that everybody has the Ivern passive, too many people have red buffs. And they have too much regen. So they're actually finally hitting the regen on it, which is a big thing. It's a lot. It's kind of crazy how fast you regen with a red buff. And it makes it so, like, it's just performing way too much. It definitely needed a nerf. Makes sense to me. Looks like that's it. We got ARAM changes. There's going to be a clash coming up. What are the new skins here? Got some more Shanghai Scrolls skins. It looks like we got Bard, Kog'Maw, Lilia, Tahm Kench, and Leona, Crystal Mortis Leona. That's the new Hextech skin. I think this Tahm Kench skin looks pretty cool. I don't know. I think it's kind of weird to do this Kog'Maw skin because Kog'Maw already has like the Chinese New Year skin. Kind of looks very similar with it, just kind of like a color shifted palette. Maybe the Lilia skin will be cool. But that's it. That's all the patch notes. I think that this is a very interesting change. I think there's a lot of changes that are coming through that I like. A lot of champions are getting buffed. I do think that a lot of the nerfs to the meta champions don't actually do anything except for the Zeri nerf. I think the Zeri nerf is an actual big nerf, as well as the Milio nerf. All the other ones, they might as well not have been on there. They absolutely changed nothing. So if you think like you can't play Kha'Zix anymore or Kog'Maw, like you're completely wrong. Those champions are going to be as strong as they were before. Nothing's changed. But hope you guys enjoy. And if you have any other things you'd like me to take a look at, other champions you'd like me to see me play, feel free to request them in the comments. Thanks. Join my Discord and submit your games for the next VOD review.